Hey, 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 and welcome to yet another day where we can get to enjoy spending time together, to reflect on our lives and the impact we are making on the people around us and those out in the world. And I want to start off by saying the following. I honestly don't care who you are, where you are from, what your bank status is, where you live. I don't care about your color, your sexual orientation, your religious outlook, your spiritual beliefs. None of that means anything to me. None of it. None of it means anything to me. What I want to know is intrinsically, are you a good person? By good person, one can have that as a very broad term, or one can narrow it down. Are you kind? Are you compassionate? Are you caring of others? Or do you sit on the sidelines and judge and criticize and laugh at other people when they say things that you think is ridiculous? Is your life so miserable that you are ugly in your approach to the way you treat others? And I thought about this for a long time. And I know that when my late stepmother was still alive, she and I would often have good conversations, but they weren't always healthy. They were not always healthy conversations because they were conversations at the expense of the feelings of others. And I didn't realize this at the time, but as I got older, I became more and more uncomfortable with the conversations because I was changing and I was seeing that this wasn't a part of who I wanted to be anymore. I didn't want to be that person belittling another or laughing at someone else. I didn't want that. I just didn't want it. But what was really, really difficult for me at the time was to break away from the image that people had of me through the years of me being different. And we all grow up at some, well, we all grow up and change at some point in our lives. And we all want to make a difference, I'm sure. And I slowly started realizing and shifting that those closest to you, especially family, are the ones that think they have a right to say they know who you are and they know you better than they know yourself, which is insane. It's just not true. They know the you that they might have lived under the same roof with, but they certainly don't know who you are today and the changes in your life that you've been through. And this is my personal experience. This is my story. I'm not going to sit here and have a blame game and point fingers because, quite frankly, I don't care. I actually don't care. We go through lessons in life, we do things, and some things that we do are done with the right intentions, with disastrous effects. And some of these effects cause hurt and harm to others. And whilst it's never one's intention and certainly was never mine, it happens. Shit happens. Life happens. And you can either choose to dive and wallow in that shit, or you can decide enough of sewerage living and out I go. There was a point in my life, probably 6 years ago, where I didn't want to be here anymore. It's not that I had suicidal thoughts. It's that I just didn't want to wake up again. I just didn't want to live to face another day with what I was going through. So, in the name of transparency and to give hope to hopefully hundreds of thousands of people in this world, I decided that I would leave the corporate environment where I really was succeeding. At the time, I was working for a boss who I deeply believe wasn't in touch with emotional and mental well-being in the workplace. Had she been, had she noticed this, and had I been more open and transparent with my boss, who was the managing director at the time, and saying, look, my daughter's just left to go to America is leaving to go to university, leaving home. And I was a single parent. So you call it the empty nest syndrome if you want. And my late stepmother who raised me from a very, very young age, um, she had passed away that year as well, a few years before. And all of this was compounded with me having to deal with my father who was grieving. He had lost his soulmate of 42 years, and he just wasn't able to cope. And then dealing with siblings that the family's big. In this family dynamic, there's 7 kids, and amongst those 7 kids, some despise and hate one another. And that's really difficult to look at because you don't want to be the one to look at it and go, oh my gosh, this really sucks. I don't want to be a part of this. And I certainly don't want to be a part of it. And I'm not. If I'm not spreading love and I'm spreading hatred or judgment or criticism, I want nothing to do with it. So I've had to take a very difficult stance in my life. And I'll explain this to you. I had to take a very, very difficult stance in my life recently and say, fuck it, just chuck it. The past is gone. I'm not going to dwell on the mistakes I've made before, because millions before me have made mistakes and managed to shake it off, stand up, and move on again. And I'm also not the victim. I'm not the victim, but neither am I the one who created the chaos. I'm not blaming myself or anyone else for anything. Life is what happens to the best laid plans. And so, unfortunately, there are people in my immediate zone, in my immediate circle, and let's, for want of a better word, call it family and extended family, that, sure, that might and do hold grudges, and that's on them. And I have to be the one to say, I'm not going to look at it and feel bad anymore. And it's difficult because when you are so addicted, to the stress hormone, to the cortisol, when you're addicted to feeling shitty all the time, when you're addicted to depression, when you are addicted to anxiety, when you are addicted to fear, when you are addicted to narcissism, to criticism, to judgment, to whatever way you want to paint this, when you are addicted to it, it's very hard to break the cycle. Why? Because it is the known, because it is the default setting of your everyday reactive cycle. So now you look at it and you go, okay, so I'm going to change. And how am I going to change this? So when my business didn't work out in 2017, I closed the business. I liquidated the business. Now, in America, you can call it bankruptcy. In South Africa, we have 2 names for it. We call it liquidation for a business and sequestration for a person. So the bankruptcy is not just the business, but it's the business and the person, but we use 2 separate words. So I decided in 2017 to liquidate, to close my business, and to take a really long, hard look at why it failed, where I could have done or seen things differently. And I decided to voluntarily sequestrate myself so that I could have a clean slate. Now, knowing what I know today and what I've been through since 2017 till now, well, actually till October the 19th, knowing what I know, I would never recommend that to anybody, voluntary sequestration, unless you absolutely have to do it. I would rather go to an attorney or I don't know, debt counselor or whatever to try and work out a plan. But at this stage, I had no job and I had nothing, and I needed to protect myself as well. So that's where I was. I, at the time, was truly blessed for having amazing people in my life and a really good friend at the time. And I want to talk about this very openly so that you understand that if you're going through something similar, you're not alone. I had a very good friend at the time who let me stay, and we had been friends when I was pregnant with my child, who now just turned 28. And we'd been friends for many years. And she let me stay at her house, and she helped me in the beginning financially. Um, she supported me in ways by not charging me rent and by settling like some small, like a cell phone account, for example. And this went on for a few years. And then my daughter left to go to America. Oh, and at the time, my friend had also sold the property and had given me a large sum of money to pay to my two staff members because I had folded everything. It was just going over the Christmas period. And it was never at the time, it was never, ever, ever at the time said, this is an IOU. It was, I'm helping you where I can. I wouldn't have had the money. I'm selling the place. Take this. This is what I've made on it, etc. Um, and this really good friend of mine at the time had done this for me, and I was eternally grateful. But at the very same time, I was in a very, very bad place because shortly thereafter, my daughter finished university and she went from South Africa to America to be with her fiance then, and she got married. And she's now an American citizen. She lives there. I live here. And I miss her more than you can imagine, even though we have things like WhatsApp video calls. And I felt like the spiral and the downward spiral of my life was a very heavy impact. And I felt very guilty for that on my daughter's and son-in-law's shoulders. I really felt really bad for that anxiety that I had put her through. And so you live with all of this reality happening in your world. And now the interesting thing happened. In 2017, when all of this was unfolding, I came across a woman called Lisa Natoli. And Lisa Natoli at the time was solely dedicated to teaching A Course in Miracles. She had in America a Friday morning American time, Friday afternoon my time, A Course in Miracles gathering. And they also did it online. And I met her. I can't remember the exact details, and I'm sure it was through Facebook, but I took solace and I found solace in the words of A Course in Miracles. Now, my whole background, my spiritual and religious background has been incredibly strong. So A Course in Miracles wasn't something foreign to me. The concepts were incredibly foreign, and I certainly didn't agree with a lot of the things that was being said and taught in this, and I questioned a lot for a long time. And then one day, Lisa Natoli shifted in. It was, for me, it was sudden, and I'm sure for her it was gradual, but she shifted from pure, like let's say pure science, so pure Course in Miracles, to A Course in Miracles and non-duality, and let's say science and then pseudoscience. So it was like two very contrasting things. And I battled with that because I suddenly felt the blankets being pulled, the rug being pulled from under my feet. And that led me to really question everything again. And I actually became rather angry about all of this. I actually became rather angry because I was like, no, and I was just getting used to everything. And now you're saying there's this, and now I didn't understand. And oh, I was really upset. And it took me a long time to get over that because I had become so dogmatic in my approach and I didn't want anything else to exist. And that was a huge wake-up call for me. Huge. As a previous NLP practitioner and a certified and qualified NLP practitioner, and I'm going to be doing building personal resilience with Heart Math early next year. And having been in it feels like a former life, an HR director, senior executive in human resources, labor relations, dealing with unions, dealing with dismissals, conflict management, negotiations, having had that in my career and building myself up really high in the workforce, I suddenly had to take a step back and assess where I stood on things, where I stood on things. And so I suddenly realized it wasn't that I was dogmatically now a Course in Miracles only student, because I'm not. I I appreciate A Course in Miracles. I think there are words of wisdom that Helen Schuckman, who calls herself the scribe of the Course in Miracles, and it is believed that it's the words of Jesus that was given to her over a 7-year period that became known as A Course in Miracles. Whether this is true or not is irrelevant to me. What's relevant to me is the lessons that one can learn from it. What's relevant to me is that I hold steadfast to the truth within, to the guidance within, to the due north focus that I have within. Who's the captain of my ship? I am. I'm the captain of my ship. Who's the guiding light and the guiding star that is leading me homeward bound? Infinite intelligence, the source, the creator. So we are all born into this world, into different places and different spaces and different languages and different upbringings and different cultures and many different things, belief systems, etc. And so many of us are born into indoctrination. So whether you are Islam, Jewish, Christian, Catholic, spiritual, truthfully, I don't care. Truthfully, I don't care. That's not why I'm here. Why I'm here is to help shine a light on the abusive use of influence that people can have over you. And it might not even be intentional, but the abusive use of power and knowledge and experience that others can use and have over you, where you become the follower without actually leading your own life, without getting the tools to sit and say, okay, what is it that I really want? What do I want to do? What do I believe? And there are going to be people that are going to fall by the wayside when you find that within yourself and start living it and preaching it. So it took me now in South Africa, I don't know how it works in other countries, but in South Africa, you have something called automatic rehabilitation, which is after 10 years. And I decided I didn't want to wait. And I wanted to be rehabilitated now. And I had to find an attorney, and which I did. And it went through the court. And on the 19th of October, the judge declared that my application for rehabilitation has been granted. And so I'm no longer sequestrated, and my business is long gone. And I'm waiting on the court documents. They've got a backlog apparently, so it'll be probably this week that I get the court documents. There was a relief that I felt, but it wasn't the relief I expected when I got the rehabilitation. It was more a question of, okay, now I need to get the ball rolling. And so here's where today's message comes in truly. In the month of November, I am moving from this home into my new home. And it's been a long time coming. This home has been wonderful for me for the last 3 years. I call it my healing home. Funnily enough, it's the house that my son-in-law grew up in as a teenager. And I've been fortunate enough and blessed, truly blessed beyond measure to be able to stay here for so long. And just at the time when my friend who's the owner needs to sort stuff out here and for me to move on was also in line with the rehabilitation, which gave me the opportunity to be able to move. It's synchronized. Everything is synchronized. And I sat with this and I wondered, how is the synchronicity so possible, so real? How is it so, how is the synchronicity so spot on? And I do believe it's when you start looking at yourself saying, fuck it, just chuck it. I'm not living somebody else's life. Because if I don't decide what I want and how I want to live, I bet your bottom dollar that somebody else will decide that for you. So it's taken me a long time to get out of this phase. And why I wanted to share this video with you, move now, make that shift, and get unstuck, is I want you to see the process unfolding before your very own eyes of what transformation really looks like. Screw it, just do it. And I think that's a book title that Richard Branson actually wrote. Screw it, just do it. But for me, it really is applicable. Don't let somebody's opinion of you hold you back. Don't let somebody else's unkindness derail who you are. I've decided, and it works like a bomb. It works like a bomb. I don't know if you've got this, where you have some friends in your life who never share their personal life with you, but want to know everything about what's going on in your life. I'm done with that too. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. And there are things I'll share with you, and there are things that are personal, and they will remain in my personal box, and it's personal. And I'm not discussing it with you. And I've decided to flip it on its head. And now when I find myself coming across those people or situations, I deflect. When I'm asked stuff, I go, I'm always talking about myself to you. I'd love it if you opened up a bit to me. And if they decide not to, that's also fine. If they decide not to, no harm, no foul. No harm, no foul. But you don't have to be a victim. Now, why did it take me so long why did the voluntary sequestration have such a negative connotation in my life and hold a noose over me? Well, it boils down to two factors. One, I was scared and became very scared of money and having money. And being told your whole life that you're bad with money is just bullshit, and you buy into this. You buy into the belief of other people. Screw them. They don't know you. And if you know yourself and you say, yeah, okay, I need to get a handle on the way I treat money, and I need to get a better understanding of how to deal with it, then find somebody that can do your finances for you, which is what I'll be doing. Is I'm going to get somebody to do my taxes and somebody to sort my stuff out, and that's fine, and that's great. And I'll focus on my business, and somebody else can do their field of expertise, which I'll pay for that service. Don't let the past define your present, because most people live in the past. And it took me a very long time. I felt, so as I said, it's twofold. The first fold was scared of money, the fear of money. And money is just energy. Money is nothing short of energy, because everything is energy. Money is energy flowing in and out. But if you have a fear for it, you block it. And the other was fearing that if I had, then those who thought I owed them something would come hounding me for it. But fortunately, and that's where where my voluntary sequestration actually saved my sanity, fortunately, the people weren't able to do that even when I was sequestrated. If there was no legitimate claim, then there's no recourse. If there was a legitimate claim, they had a choice of putting a claim in against the estate, which they didn't. I decided to lose everything. It was my decision to lose everything and to build myself from ground zero up. I want to build a life where I am true to myself, committed to a community, a vast global community of people who are here to help with the betterment of the world. So over the next few months, with the move, with the studying of building personal resilience through heart math, with the changes in my life, I will be focusing on my primary message and where will I find my community that I believe in, that I can foster work-in relationships, that I can foster growth, that I can foster reaching people. Now, here's an interesting thing. I'm reading a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and it's actually edited by someone who has studied the book intensively and has edited it to give, because Napoleon Hill was born in the late 1800s, and this went through, excuse me, the Depression of in the 20s in the States, etc. Primarily, most of the people were men that he had studied the strategy of successful rich people. And this book has been written, the revised version has been written taking common day events that have actually happened and putting that in the book that we can relate to versus something that was so long ago. But the principles remain the same. But what struck me about this book, I love so many of the principles, but the one thing about it, it's all about your complete focus on just money. Now, that's not me. I want money so I can grow the business and I can grow a wellness center online where specifically people in the workplace can come to and find a way to deal with complex, difficult situations at work and within themselves. So it's wellness within yourself, wellness within the workplace. But to find 5 key points, 5 key strategies to do this, and then to create it, to trademark it, to do whatever it needs to be done, and to start teaching it. That's my end goal. That's my end goal. Why am I sharing this with you today? Honestly, it's so that you can see transformation taking place before your own very eyes. People are not going to like you along the way. And you are not here to be liked. You are here to be you. If somebody doesn't like you, it's okay. You're just pushing buttons they don't like being pushed. It's all good. It's all good. But it's not about having that attitude of karma will get you. I don't believe in that. Not for 1 second. Good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people if you put labels to it. But if we see each other intrinsically as born into this playing field of life without anything, without any knowledge of anything, and then we start growing into the communities, environments, and cultures that we're in, and life's experience starts happening, and our personality and experience starts defining who we are perceived in this world. If we realize that at the very outset we were once all on equal footing, all on equal footing. Some could say yes, but some were more, we're going to be more disposed to being geniuses than others, and others were born with disabilities, and others this. And I'm talking about the internal you, the you that you are at the very, 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 very core. That you, that you're born into this world. We are born physically and we die physically. Our bodies disappear, go, dead. But that which remains, that which is eternal, that part of us, is the mystery to man, to mankind. And it's so interesting because I listen to lots of students, whether it's A Course in Miracles or something else, who have the answers to everything. But I am still not convinced that there is one way and one way only that's the right way. I believe that you are met where you are at. And from a place of healing, the healing of the mind, to me, is the most important, which is what A Course in Miracles sets out to do. It's a course in miracles, the healing of the mind, the perception of the world. And that's why I did and I'm still doing, in today's lesson 303, there's 365 daily lessons of A Course in Miracles. That is why I'm still doing it, because there's many lessons that one can get so much insight into. But again, it's not for everyone. And it's not my only course of belief. Everything is energy. Everything we think, we say, we're creating the dynamic that we call our lives. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. I really cherish the moments we have together. And I'm really, really looking forward to growing this community throughout 2024, and for you to see transformation happen before your eyes. And if it's possible for me, it's most certainly possible for you.